Against, carried. Right, councillors, we're going back to 7.1. And this is the Tarawera proposal regarding supplementation loan grant to Tarawera Sewerage Scheme. We've had discussion on this. Do I have a resolution and a mover and a seconder? Councillor Winters.
Happy to move the resolutions. I don't think we need 4 declines to improve any funding or financing in addition.
Yeah, 3, Mr. Chair, the ors will be removed. So whichever one you agree, the ones that you don't agree won't.
So I'm happy to move straight to 6. That we provide a loan of 3.58 million as requested by RLC in Tanya's letter, plus the 750 grant that we've already signalled through our long-term plan. There's some conditions there, Mr. Chairman, that the loan is for 4 years. Interest is payable at 4.25% per annum. 25% of the principal of the loan is payable each year. And then interest is no longer applied if the loan, 85% of the residents can get connected to this scheme. And that means that those locality plans can be signed by 85%. So it puts a bit of tension on RLC to deliver. It gives, I think this gives confidence to the residents out there that we're assisting them in terms of getting them over the line. And it also gives them a signal that we want to see those locality plans signed so that the stage 2 can be implemented en masse by through the second tender. So I'm happy to move, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a good outcome. Thank you for your discussion today, but this is really perplexing in terms of its complexity. But I think the residents out there would be pleased that we're putting some money into this. Yes, it's a loan, it's not a grant, but we've already signalled a 750 grant some time ago. So this is total funding of, I think, was 4.33 million through a grant and a loan at this stage. So happy to move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. Councillor Nees, you're going to second?
Well, I'm happy to second, but I have got a question because under those terms, RLC could still decide to increase the cost payable to each Tarawera ratepayer, and that's not what I'm proposing.
I think where we're going, Jane, is if they adopt through option 3, through their annual plan of a $4 million additional funding from themselves, that adds, I think it's an $11 increase to all urban ratepayers in Rotorua to pay for that 4 million. I see this as a similar scenario that we can bring the capital cost down for the Lake Tarawera ratepayers along similar lines of what RLC is doing. So we're actually just matching their $4 million option 3 grant, aren't we? Loan, aren't we, Matt?
So, Jane, does your concern can be accommodated under 6C if we just make a note there? So essentially, you're saying we expect to be a fixed price to the Tarawera residents?
Yeah, as discussed with the with the chief executive or the Ratepayers Association or whatever it is. My whole rationale was trying to make sure that that does not get any higher.
Capital cost is close to 36K.
Yeah. So however we encapsulate it, if we do that, I'm happy to second.
Actually, through you, Chair, I seconded that.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Malcolm.
In the option there,
can we just add that in there?
Yes, through Mr. Chair, we can say, and the expectation of the Bay of Plenty Regional Council is that. And we would add that
Be a
in.
fixed fee.
Yeah. Kept it. What
done.
has
Thank you,
been
Jane.
indicated.
Oh, thank you, Malcolm. Lyle?
Thanks, Chairman. I fully support the recommendations as put, and I think the signal that we are sending today is that this enterprise wants to see some finality to this ongoing saga at Tarawera, and that our colleagues have been more than magnanimous in putting this proposal to RLC, and I certainly hope that it'll be well received, and my sincere thanks to my colleagues here for their support. I do understand the concerns from a few of you, and I can understand where your apprehensions lie. But at the end of the day, we're trying to think in the best interest of the Bay of Plenty and a lake that is of huge value to Rotorua, New Zealand and the wider community. And I just hope that it will be well received by RLC, and I look forward to that communication coming back to us.
Thank you. Mr. Eadie and then Councillor Shirley. No? Mr. Shirley.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to move an amendment to the motion, and that is that the Regional Council supports recommendations 1, 2 and 3 in accordance with the staff recommendation, noting that the Rotorua Lakes District Council has the capacity to obtain the loan monies required, and all we're really talking about is spreading it over the region rather than over the Rotorua district. And my real concern in moving that amendment is, in accordance with the staff recommendation, is the precedent that it will create and the slippery slope that will flow from that, and the expectation that we do this for all councils around our region.
Thank you, Mr. Shirley. So we have an amendment. Do we have a seconder for the amendment?
I'm happy to second that one.
Okay, the amendment is seconded by Councillor Ron. Or I should say Councillor Scott. So I intend to vote on the amendment. Sorry, Councillor. Yes, sorry.
I'm going to speak opposed to the amendment. I agree with the sentiment, but I don't, except for the fact that it sets a precedent. I think the Rotorua Lakes, we have put a huge amount of money into the Rotorua Lakes over a considerable period of time, and they are iconic in this. That's why we did it, and this is not a deed-funded lake. So this is different, which you would say is setting a precedent, but I don't believe it is, because I think the lakes are a special case. I think every case needs to be, when we're talking of sewerage, needs to be on its own merits, and I certainly don't want this to be seen as a precedent, and so I will speak against it. Thank you.
Councillor Crosby.
Yeah, I do support it because I still see with our current proposal, which I think is the next best, still has gaping holes in it in terms of it's still reliant on RLC actually going to option 3 to bring down that target, that actual burden on the Tarawera ratepayers. Because they could say quite easily, oh, thank you, BOPRC, you've brought it down X amount and we're comfortable with that. And it doesn't actually be a more balanced approach to sort out that problem. The broader issue for me is I accept Councillor Shirley's first rationale, but it has an impost across the whole Bay of Plenty. And that's going to require an extra potential rate requirement in our annual plan and potentially LTP, unless we cut something else out. And we went through an LTP where we were debating sums of $10,000, 20, 30, 50, to try and bring some discipline into reducing the rating requirement for this year, basically down to the rate of inflation, which we have achieved. And this has a potential to disrupt that. So while I absolutely support bringing down the burden on the Tarawera ratepayers to a sum of somewhere around 35, 37,000, and that itself is quite significant, I believe there are other ways to do it. The second issue is they're in the midst of deciding whether to consider their structure for Three Waters under Waters Done Well. And as I understand it, it's in the first instance in-house, and then potentially looking at a CCO or joint CCO with others, and that's fine. That's their business. The point is, if there is a change, this agreement that being proposed will go into that change. And I do recall other changes where ultimately it will get lost in the May, and often they do what they call the distribution of assets and liabilities. And this kind of arrangement, along with other arrangements, becomes part of a trade-off. And that's what actually happens. You also have potentially later on, potentially local government reform, and that will have its course of action. Again, where this potentially could end up. That's why I think a more cleaner proposal is what's being recommended as an amendment. And then we have already indicated through our LTP that we will look at a more equitable funding across the whole Bay of Plenty for this type of issue. And I'd prefer to wait for that and have a more broader discussion. I think the terms and conditions of what's being proposed at the moment may not meet the needs of Rotorua Lakes Council. It may not, I don't know. And I think a cleaner way to do it is say no at this point, and then give ourselves time to have this conversation through our either next annual plan or potentially LTP to address this issue, because you are going to get fairness and equity arguments coming through other councils. So I do want to make sure that the Rotorua ratepayers get the least imposters possible, but I don't think what we're proposing is actually going to achieve it.
Thank you, councillor Crosby. Any other speakers for? Any other speakers against? If not, I intend to put the amendment, which was moved by councillor Shirley, seconded by councillor Scott. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Noes have it. We revert to the original resolution, which was moved by councillor Winters, seconded by councillor Campbell. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Call for a division.
Carried. Call for a division. Division's been called for. Can we please have a show of hands? All those in favour of the resolution moved by councillor Winters, seconded by councillor Campbell. Oh, didn't see those guys.
Yes, I am, because we lost the other one. So I'm supporting the next best option. Yeah.
Okay, against? I declare it carried. Was that only one against?
Scott against.
Mr. Scott, what was your position?
I was in favour, the same as Stuart, actually. Given that we lost the amendment, I'm in favour of the next best option.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, how did you vote?
Four.
Oh,
Okay, councillors, that brings to conclusion. Thank you very much. Look, I think that discussion was very worthwhile. Probably took a lot longer, but hopefully it clears the decks. And please note the comment of councillor Nees whilst we had that discussion. Right.
so how's this
Councillor
going?
White, would you close our hui with karakia, please?
Mr. Chairman, how's this going to be relayed back to RLC? Are you going to do it, Ruben?
Councillor White.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Yeah, ke tau ke tata tō te ata whai o tō tātou riki a Hukraiti me te aroha te atua, me te whitinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu ake, and a big amen to that. Kia ora.
Thank you, gentlemen.